Sometimes news it hits differently. It's not just another headline. It feels more personal, like losing someone you kind of knew, someone you'd welcomed into your home through the TV for decades. And that's really how it felt for so many people, I think, when the news broke about Malcolm-Jamal Warner, actor, director, poet, musician, just gone.
So what we want to do in this deep dive is go beyond just the basic news report from CBS. We really want to try and explore the life, the whole legacy of someone who clearly meant a lot. We'll touch on the circumstances of his passing, of course, but maybe more importantly, celebrate all the things he gave us culturally, things many folks might not even be aware of.
Yeah, it's true. News like this, it really does make you stop and think, doesn't it? You start to consider the full picture of someone's impact. And often you uncover these layers, talents and influences way beyond what they were most famous for. So yeah, it's this balance, isn't it? Acknowledging the tragedy, but also remembering this really vibrant life.
Yeah.
It's exactly a vibrant life. And as we get into his 54 years, I think you'll find some genuinely surprising things. It's fascinating to look at the whole arc. I mean, from Theo Huxtable, which is how most of us first met him, right? All the way to his later work, music, poetry, directing, getting into all those different sides, I think it really deepens your appreciation for what he achieved. It's quite a journey. So the news itself. Malcolm-Jamal Warner passing at just 54. It was a real shock. Just so sudden, and the circumstances really tragic, an accidental drowning. The official report from Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Department said it happened on a Sunday afternoon. At a beach in Coglas de Limon that's on the Caribbean coast, it looks like he got caught in a current, pulled out to sea. Apparently, people on the beach, they tried to help. The Red Cross got the call around 2:10 p.m., sent 3 ambulances. They performed resuscitation attempts, but sadly, there were no vital signs. He was pronounced dead right there at the scene. Just an absolutely heartbreaking end, especially for someone who, as we're discovering, had such a varied and significant impact. Way beyond what many might think. I mean, of course, he's cemented in our minds as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, right?
Yeah.
1984-92. That role even got him an Emmy nomination back in 86. And he talked about being really proud of the show, called its impact awesome, especially how it affected how Black people saw themselves globally and how the world saw Black people.
And that's such a key starting point. But if you connect the dots, his career just kept going, kept evolving way, way beyond Theo. Think about it. Here's a child star who didn't just disappear. He grew as an artist. He starred in Malcolm and Eddie, that was late 90s, then Read Between the Lines more recently in The Resident, right up until last year. And his voice. Many will remember him as the producer on the Magic School Bus back in the mid-90s. He even did movies like Drop Zone in 94. And directing, too. He directed episodes of The Cosby Show itself, All That, Kenan and Kel, even Fresh Prince, and lately hosting the Not All Hood podcast.
Wow, that's quite the list. From sitcom son to voice actor, director, podcaster, and musician, which we'll get to. It really feels like he resisted being pigeonholed, didn't it? What does that sort of drive, to keep expanding, even after such huge early fame? What does that tell you about him?
Well, it tells you about ambition, definitely, but also, I think, real dedication to the craft itself beyond just fame. And the really fascinating part, maybe the less widely known part, is his work as a poet and a musician. Seriously accomplished. He wasn't just messing around. He won a Grammy Award in 2015.
Really?
Yeah, for Best Traditional R&B Performance. It was for his contribution to a cover of Stevie Wonder's Jesus Children of America.
Yeah.
That's not just, a footnote. That's a major achievement. It speaks volumes about this quiet, dedicated pursuit of art across different forms, often away from the spotlight of his early TV work.
A Grammy winner. Wow, I honestly didn't know that. And it kind of fits with what his friend, Kevin Powell, said about him. Powell, the author and poet, described him as really humble, kind, a devoted husband and father. Said you'd never guess he was this huge child star. He wasn't into the celebrity of it, was Powell's phrase. But he also knew his position, right? Powell called him America's son because he was the only boy on that iconic show. That resonates. So many people felt they grew up alongside him. Powell also mentioned Warner was a huge hip-hop head, lifelong fan. But apparently, he also had concerns about some of the images in hip-hop later on. He actually used his platform to ask, and Powell quoted him saying something like, "How are we representing ourselves as a community, as a people, with the art that we're creating?" That's pretty thoughtful.
That really brings up an interesting point, doesn't it? When Powell says he wasn't into the celebrity, even though he was America's son, how do you think that specific mindset, that sort of humility maybe, how did that shape his later choices, his art?
Yeah, that's a good question, I suppose. Well, maybe it freed him up, allowed him to genuinely explore those other passions, like the music, the poetry, without needing the constant validation of the spotlight, which maybe leads to something like a Grammy win that takes people by surprise. So as we sort of wrap our heads around this incredible life and tragic loss, what's the big question his life leaves us with, for us, the audience?
Right. Well, maybe it's this. What does it really mean for us when someone we feel like we came of age with on screen? When that person leads such a rich, diverse, creative life and has this social awareness beyond that one big role, it makes you ask, how do we actually acknowledge and appreciate the full impact of someone like that? Especially when their later work, maybe their deeper contributions, aren't as widely known as their initial fame. It's definitely something worth thinking about.